All right. So I'll try to present, what is it about security awareness now that the world is moving towards an AI evolution. So that's what I have prepared. And so let's go. So the agenda, let's talk about, what is new in AI? How does security differ from what we already know in relation to AI? And then let's talk about, how to, we are all familiar with security threat landscape, data security threat landscape. How is it different when it comes to AI threat landscape? Then we'll talk about how businesses are sort of using the AI. So I'm sure you're all, hopefully most of all, I say actually hopefully, because AI is a problem, but AI is also a solution. So we got to keep that in mind. Usually we live with a problem or we find a solution. We don't have this situation where problem and solution coexist. So that's the kind of environment we are getting into. So, most of us are using AI in some way or the other, maybe just finding stuff on ChatGPT, or maybe doing some coding, maybe developing applications, agents, and so on. So it goes on and on and on. There are several levels. In such a short time, AI has come a long way. So let's talk about how businesses are using it. And then what does it take to become AI ready in a company, particularly when it comes to security awareness? So let's talk about that. And then finally, what's out there? We don't have to reinvent everything. Let's see what we can do with the tools that are already there. So, and then finally, any question answers. Quickly about our company, RSI Security. As I said, we are primarily compliance assessors and advisors. So, for example, we have assessors in ISO 42001. That's the ISO AI risk management framework. And then NIST also has the RMF. So we provide advisory and assessment on those two. And then, RSI Security is an assessor organization certified by PCI SSC, HITRUST, and C3PAO. For some of you who are familiar with C3PAO, is a company that performs assessments for defense contractors for DIPCAC assessments. And then, just want to provide about why, what's special about our company. We partner with our customers. It's not a transaction. We make sure that they get to the next level. So that's how we operate. So that's a quick intro about our company. So let's start with, so a quick question to Tim. Tim, when would you like to run?
Yeah, well, I can drop the first one now, actually, because it's kind of a good introduction. Yeah. So let me go ahead.
Those of us here, the question is, how does your organization currently allow employees to use AI tools at work? I'll read the options and then we'll go back and just play a show of hands. Number one is approved tools only, company login, and it's monitored. Number two is limited pilots and a few teams. 3, allowed informally with a policy in progress, 4 is not allowed. So who would raise their hands under approved tools only, company login, and it's monitored? Okay. How about limited pilots in a few teams? That one kind of, yeah. Gotta have to. Number 3, allowed informally, policy is in progress. Okay. And 4 is it's just not allowed.
So I'm sharing with sharing the results to the group online. And so overwhelming is approved tools at 68%, limited pilots at 10, and allowed informally, policy in progress is 15, and the remainder is not allowed. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Tim.
Hmm.
So the poll results are as expected. Companies are definitely waking up to the fact that they need some control around AI. So the IT and the senior leadership, they work together to make sure what do we allow, what we don't allow, and so on. But still, work from home situation. There are many companies where they don't give a managed laptop. Many users have their own laptop. In such cases, we still have problems. When it comes to AI, all those VPN and everything, they're out. When it comes to security. So let's talk about a quick scenario here. An attacker, here it's an AI attacker, scans public data sources like social media, identifies a new employee because companies do announce new employee on social media, for example, LinkedIn, and then crafts an email as if it's coming from his new manager. And then the employee is very eager to impress his manager in the company and takes quick action on it. And all these things can be done under 10 minutes. An attacker need not worry about going wrong in terms of grammar, not knowing about who the employee is or manager is. All the information, pertinent information, is with the attacker just like that right away. And this is a real scenario. Let's go to the next one. So this is from IBM research. Can you tell any problem with this email at all? It's basically saying, it's about career advancement and advancing opportunities, and it's well crafted, and it's got, can you see how much it is personalized? How much it knows about the company? Can anyone tell that this is not a real company official email? Please.
I would say directing them to an external site. Most companies have internal portals for sharing of information or resources for that.
Yeah, so as you can see, it's redacted, but the link is supposed to be pretty legit. So I'll show you what happened here. Let's go to the next one.
I mean, I'm the employee. I get this. I have no idea there's an AI engine. I have no idea there's 1,000 North Koreans doing the reconnaissance versus a model or whatever. It's really no different. The first thing you're going to look at is the legitimacy of the links and the email address to see if it's been spoofed or it's a legitimate email address. So why would this be any different than just the typical dumbo phishing email I get every day?
Good question. That's exactly where we are in terms of cybersecurity awareness today. Every training basically tells you, look for bad links, look for spelling mistakes, look for domain, wrong domain, urgency. There's all kinds of. If you go to Know Before training, many companies subscribe to Know Before, and you basically hear that, right? So the answer to that is IBM in their research made this email very, very authentic, clearly, with absolutely no flaw at all. So that's the difference. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
With the first email, it does have some urgency in the last sentence.
It does.
We encourage you to act now.
Yes.
So that could be a small indicator, but it does seem super legit overall.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. So that's another good point. The nature of the attacks have not changed. Phishing is still phishing, right? I'm not saying that, it's a different kind of phishing. No, the nature of the attack is still the same. But how it has changed to deploy this attack, that has changed. So let's go to the next one. Yeah, this is the wellness survey. Similarly, okay, so what happened here is the first prompt asked the AI to detail the primary areas of concern for employees within a specific industry. This is the research, quick research that the AI has been asked to do. For example, if the same question comes to all of you, probably you will say the same answer, about, hey, wellness is important, career advancement is important, right? It won't be any different. So it basically gets the context first. And then it selects social engineering techniques. What's the best way to deliver this? And then marketing techniques, urgency and links and everything as to how best to make sure that the person who's reading this will click. That's the marketing technique. And then sender persona, right? So who is the best person to send this email? You see to what length it is going to make it so hyper personalized. And then finally, generate the email, not just one email, it can do it in thousands per second. Not just replication email, but personalized email. So the scale has rocketed in the AI era. So let's go to the next one. So, what we call industrialized phishing, right? From mass email generation to content personalization. And then from the research, IBM found that if the same thing were to be done by, with human effort, it took 16 hours to craft such a convincing email. AI took 5 minutes to create, personalize, and deploy. So, you can calculate the percentage of the growth scale here. So the barrier to entry has gone really, really low or gone, right? Personalized attack, the word is personalized. The personalized attack can now be mass produced. So that's where we are when it comes to phishing with AI.
Yeah, we just have a couple comments from online. One and two run by you. Let me scroll up just a bit. The first one is, I think the point is that AI has taken out the poor language, increased the application, but the DNS info is still bad.
Agreed.
Okay. Next one is regarding the steps to generate an AI phishing email. Now you could direct an agentic AI to follow those steps and just say, phish this company.
That is correct too.
That is correct. Okay. And you're going to give the same answer on the next one. This is also being done with cloning someone's voice.
It's coming.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So yeah, so some of those comments basically refer to this efficiency and efficacy. As the speed and scale and everything increases, it is so easy to be effective and also very, the efficacy increases. AI can achieve natural language generation, really create persuasive text, mimics real human communication, and then social profiling, contextual awareness. So we, basically we talked about all this, looking at those emails and that research. So some of the old red flags are obsolete. So we need to look at some specialized. In other words, the old training about phishing is not effective anymore. Let's go to the next one. So same thing here, attack generation, attack acceleration together leads to greater attack efficacy. Let's play this one. That's a phone call coming. Yeah, I think it's kind of urgent. I'm trying to send you some money for the weekend. Can you send me a picture of the car? So I put the details. Thanks, huh? See you soon. Bye. Shot. AI voice only follows the line. And now, the two not only going fast. So please, protect yourself, your loved ones. Choose a safe food, family, angel, apps, and you speaking revealed. Okay, so that's a security awareness video from Sterling Bank. So this is weaponization of voice. So that's what one of the commenters referred to. It's low cost. That kind of cloning can be done within just a few seconds. And also, all they need is not like 10 minutes of your voice, just a few seconds of your voice. That's all they need. And it can be done in thousands. And more importantly, it can be done in any language in a second. All you have to do is do it in English and choose French, Japanese quickly, and it does it with your own voice. That's where we are when it comes to cloning, weaponizing voice. So now the bottom line, voice is no longer a proof of identity. So it's changing. Let's take a look at this one.
Videos. One is real, one is altered by AI. Can you spot the deepfake? Prime Minister Justin Trudeau recommended one of these books. Which one?
Book that I got excited about reading. This can't be happening in McDonald Hall. It's called The Prime Minister Stole Freedom.
Yeah, it was the last one. The Prime Minister never said that. Okay, round two.
If you can see, I hope to finish this call show.
Will the fake Morgan Freeman please stand up?
I am not wrong. What you see is not real.
How about
So we saw the cloning of the voice. Now you saw cloning of the video, the visual identity. So imagine somebody joining your Zoom call and they look like one of your colleagues and they talk like one of your colleagues and they're pretty natural and they're in the meeting and they can get the context also. They can hear it, they can respond. So now the visual identity is at risk. All right, so I think, so this one, this is a real one, a company, UK engineering company, Arab. The employee got into a conference call, very natural. And this is, you can Google it. They lost $25 million just because, somebody asked him to do so in a conference call, in a video conference call. It did happen.
Let me take another browse polling question, okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Launch this one.
Okay, the question is, do you have a callback rule for voice requests that change payments or passwords? First option is yes for all such requests. Second is yes for finance only. 3 is no, and 4 is not sure. So who here has it for all such requests? Got 3 hands. Okay. How about for finance only? 3 less hands. How about no? Was that a hand? Okay, got 2. How about not sure? Okay, this tells me somebody didn't vote. Go ahead, Tim, with what you got up high.
So interesting results, guys. It's about evenly split across the board. It's about 25% for each of the 4 answers.
Yeah, that's a little bit surprising.
And Dave, this was for business organizations, not personal, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if like, I don't know where this would fall under, but like the answer, it would either be yes or no. It's like, you don't answer in the first place. You call them, if you call them back, because like, if they're trying to reach you and it's very important, they'll leave a voicemail. Is that a yes or no to that?
It's a yes. So
Okay.
you don't want to respond. You want to make sure who that is, and then see how best to officially reach them or call them back. Ask them, okay, how can you reach you back instead of giving all the information over the phone? Yeah.
And then we have another comment from online, from Dave as well. Anytime an unrecognized number or scam likely call comes through and you pick it up to say hello or anything beyond that, you are at the risk of voice cloning.
That is correct. That is correct. Yeah. Honestly, just as for me, it's been many, many years that I have picked up a call that I didn't know. I do not care who that is. I will let it to go through to the voice. Never. I never pick up.
Number swooping. How do you recognize those? How do you distinguish or identify just
only if they're on my contact list? It comes as a name saying that's the person calling, and beyond that, it's a little difficult. So at least I have control up to that level.
But there is a possibility of
It is
spoofing.
possible.
Yeah, right.
It is
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens in most of these
Yeah.
the videos you have shown.
Right.
They just don't call with an unrecognizable number. They try to hack your phone or get your contacts and then spoofing, and then that's the power of AI. Thank
That's
you.
right. Yeah. But the thing is, at least not everybody gets spoofed contact calls all the time, right? So the probability is really low. So that's why at least when you say, okay, I'm not going to pick up anyone outside my contact, it kind of works for the most part. Please.
Quick questions. The one is, so the when you do the callback, does that really prevent against audio jacking? I thought, and is that even like a thing that's happening quite prominently? Because I thought that the recommendation for that was to cut up the information across different mediums. And the second question had to do with the deep fake or capturing your voice. I mean, if we have any video on the internet, that's where they're going to go. They don't necessarily need to call you too, right? So how are we, navigating these two things?
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, the solutions, people are still working on different solutions, right? For example, I call Fidelity and I say, hey, Fidelity, my voice, we recognize your voice, right? We don't know what's going to happen to that, right? So the people, everyone is still working on those solutions. You're right. For example, when I send somebody something, okay, I'm going to text some part of information, email part of information, phone call part of information. You got to take those steps to make sure that you are working with the right party. Yeah.
Hey, come on. We
Ye-
had this talk on.
Okay. The Chase has introduced a new concept where they have no longer voice is your authentication. Now what they have done is they kind of taken out your regular telephone number, contact number from their list. For example, for the multi-factor authentication. So you have to call them. You have to call them and then re-verify. So they use other methods of authentication to do that. I mean, just wanted to give you like one of the solutions for this voice spoofing is the solution which has already been implemented by the Chase Bank. That's all.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. So multiple types of authentication, right, on both ends. Yeah.
And then what about how like VoIP is so easily able to spoof, but more modernly there's like web-based like Signal. Is that less risk to the phishing?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have a couple comments from online. One person had commented that you can set your iOS device to not accept any calls unless it's on your contact list, like you were describing. So they will automatically, it'll go straight to
Yeah.
voicemail, which is a lifesaver in other ways outside of everything
many times
you're
it really seems
making us
potential
aware
stuff.
of here.
Yeah.
And then the other comment was as from Howard, as added protection for voicemail, he doesn't use his voice for the greeting because that could be captured as well, which is a great perspective.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So
Hey, sorry, one more question. I think the first video mentioned like having a safe word, like or safe phrase. Is it something that companies are actually implementing, or is it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was I'm kind of paraphrasing on it, but there was a scam attempt, and I think it was with Porsche, where I forget how many millions of dollars trying to be transferred. And actually they caught it at the very last minute. It was like almost to the finish line with, it was, wait a minute, just before we wrap this up, what is the secret code or something like that? And the person did not know that. And that's how they were able to prevent it.
Go to the next one. Okay, so those were a couple of examples involving human entities. Now, AI is not just about humans. It's also about the AI agents themselves trying to, be the self-attackers, So, for example, prompt injection, it's basically tricking an AI into breaking its own rules. There's, according to NIST, we have a direct and an indirect. The direct is, human explicitly telling the AI to ignore its own policy, which is, easily controllable. The second one is a malicious command or even the data itself, a poisoned data. That's what we're talking about here, data poisoning. Poisoned data can trigger a prompt injection. And that prompt injection can make the AI do some unpredictable things. So that's the concept about prompt injection. And so now think about this AI models having access to sensitive data, and it's, code is generated by AI. It's not fully vetted, or it's not scanned, or it's, one of the things that I learned about, I was at Black Hat 2 weeks ago, and this person told me, it stuck to my mind, which is AI does not care about data. It only cares about productivity. It only does the best thing faster, better, but it never cares about what kind of data it is dealing with. So you got to keep that in mind. So AI is all about productivity. So in that situation, imagine a malicious agent having access to sensitive data. Okay, let's go. So here, the common targets are chatbots, agentic assistants, backend automations, and that's the result. You got AI-powered agent, not human, agent-generated social engineering. So that's where we are with the AI. Let's go to the next one. So you can group all of these things into sort of 5 categories here. Hyper-realistic social engineering. We talked about voice cloning, phishing, deepfake videos, and so on. And then unintentional data leakage, also called shadow AI. So in other words, you may have an official ChatGPT, unofficial ChatGPT. You never know which browser you're using. You take some data from the company and copy paste into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to help you out. So lots of those things are happening. And then we talked about AI agents, internal AI assistants. Companies are sort of waking up to using agents more and more to increase productivity. And then the supply chain, data poisoning, data leaks, and so on, that comes through third parties and LLMs and so on. And the last one is autonomous attack campaigns, like your Tesla getting hacked, and changing its behavior while it's on the road. So we're talking about those kind of attacks. And talking about cyber attack chain, again, nothing has changed. This cyber attack chain remained before AI, but now it's even better with AI. So we're talking about a tool, use automated OS int using social engineering reconnaissance, and then domains for egress and phishing and exfiltration, how to get initial access using different types of techniques, and then discovering the sensitive information, and then causing, creating malicious payloads and causing damage to the company. The reason why I presented this is because all these things can be done within seconds. which used to take hours and days and months for the bad actors to do all of these things to get some money. But now with AI agents, you can do this in minutes. So the attack framework hasn't changed. The cyber attack chain hasn't changed, but how fast, how quickly, how effectively that has changed. Let's go to the next one. So, I wanted to talk about how companies are using AI. Definitely, you have come across AI with customer-facing operations, chatbots, CRM automation, personalized marketing, meeting readers, bots, and so on. So the potential for this is PII leakage, impersonation, large-scale phishing, and so on. So this is super common these days with all the companies. So next, with finance and HR, automation, fraud detection. So again, we're talking about banks, brokerage companies, HR, and so on. So which are prone to invoice fraud, deepfakes, scams, and employee data leaks. And then development. How many developers here? Anybody? Are you using AI to generate code? Every day. This morning.
Yeah, I use AI coding every day. I mean, it's a year ago, very rarely.
Yeah.
6 months ago, 50%, 100% of my day today is using. And I'm not. I'll build software, but build CI/CD pipelines, build IAC infrastructure code. If I want to, I'm working on a Azure landing zone for a AI project right now, and I go to Claude Code or Cursor, and I have them walk me through what the project is, give it very precise details. It'll stand up the DevOps pipeline. It'll insert all the code up there, and it'll build out the environments for me. So.
So just curious, is there an AI-related developer training that happens in your company?
I'm the company. So
Okay.
I have a AI security consulting little company. So I do it myself. I will say that I am planning a ISACA presentation on AI development standards and coding for late this year, early next year. So I will reveal the secrets then.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll make sure that I attend. So probably you'll come across some of these things where, when code these days, when the code developer develops a code, it goes through certain scans, dynamic scans, static scans, and all kinds of testing and everything, right? In the case of AI, when AI code is generated, it's already after the fact. You already have the code that probably is malicious, not good, or it doesn't care about sensitive data. It is sharing data. So it can generate thousands and thousands of lines of code, and you still perform those static analysis and everything, but it passes those tests. So those tests are not good anymore when it comes to AI generated code. Just because AI code does not care about sensitive data. It does not tell you, I'm sharing this data this way over this protocol with this party. It doesn't tell you. It just says, I'm doing my good job. I'm fast. So think about that.
This is a great time for another question. You wrote,
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, you worked right into one of your questions just now.
Okay.
Okay. The question is, do you keep logs of what you're?
Well, they can see it online. That's my defense, man. But no, for you, buddy. Yeah. Okay. Okay. The question is, do you keep logs of what your helpers/agents do? Their actions, files, destinations, etc. Option number one is yes, fully. 2 is yes for finance only, 3 is no, and 4 is not sure. So who here knows if it's being done fully? 1, okay. How about for finance only? Okay. How about no? Okay. And how about not sure? Fair enough. Tim, not sure was the winner here.
Yeah, and that's the same here. 46% versus 30 for the fully. So interesting.
What were you
Yeah.
expecting
So-
you would see there?
I was surprised by the number of people who say yes, it is being done.
Yeah.
So that's a little surprise. So
So you're thinking that's a unusually high number?
unusually high number.
So you're thinking that 3 out of 10 is an unusually high number?
Yeah.
Just to have this
Yeah.
in perspective.
Yeah, what I have seen generally is the logging what you do for your current systems, whether it's an analytical or online transaction system, those kind of logging is not sufficient. That's not, and most of the people get into this fallacy. Oh, okay, I've been logging, so for the AI system, the same rules applies, because that's a kind of a fallacy, and people get into the trap. Oh, I already have monitoring, and what I need to do is just grab more data from that logging, and then that will suffice for my AI transactions. But that's not the reality or the real case. Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah. So I hope the audience did not get confused by that kind of static logging. Static logging is not effective with AI anymore. So you got to have some controls as to what's changing, because AI agents can change policies if it is poisoned. So when policy changes, your static logs are no good. All right, so that's, legal and compliance. It's pretty straightforward, again, productivity, contract review, analysis, and so on. So these are some of the areas where companies are quickly adopting AI. In the past, ransomware, for example, it used to go after a few dollars. Give me a few dollars, I'll give you your data back. Give me some Bitcoins, I'll give you your data back, right? So the attacks were, it took time. They had to really spend a lot of time to find your system and do the damage and then ask you money. So these days with AI, it's not about just a few dollars. Ransomware doesn't give any money to any attacker anymore, because companies say, take my data, I have my backup and restore, take my data, I have my insurance. So ransomware is not effective now. Attackers don't have to really spend their time on it. But what they can do is now, this is the big one, they can bring down their business, stop all operations, not just one system, but your entire workflow. That's the way the AI attacks are going toward, the operational disruptions. Security breaches, of course, reputational damage, of course, and we talked about cars and production systems getting hacked while they are running, right? Safety critical issues. We're talking about grids and other things, right? So all these impact due to attacks remains, but again, scale, the speed, and the vastness of the attack. So companies have to be really step up their awareness game if they want to make sure that they avoid these attack impacts. So just comparison, where are we today? Check the box. I'm an assessor, and I ask for cybersecurity awareness content material. The first thing is it's not role-based. It just talks sometimes it's, oh, we send an email and that's our security awareness. Just accept it. So it's like, I want to be compliant. I just do these things. They don't care whether it's effective or not. Many companies are at that stage. Very basic, they ignore the shadow AI. So basically, the current material and the current training, the current awareness is not AI ready. That's the message here. So where do we go here? Shift, because the attackers are shifting, AI is shifting, and the awareness have to also shift quickly. So critical thinking. My daughter, sometimes I say, oh, I asked ChatGPT this. Oh, did you do some critical thinking? So yeah, critical thinking must be part of your security awareness program. And then just assume, again, talking about coding and development, just assume that all your code is generated by AI. Just assume it. And just assume that zero trust is important at all levels. So, for example, in the case of coding, introduce AI security and introduce security at before the generation, at the generation, not after the generation. That's changing, right? No company introduces security while the developer is coding. They always come after. So that's changing. So yeah, those are all some of the step up that companies have to do in order to get to AI security, AI ready security awareness. Let's go next one. Yeah, so we talk about rapid shifts, attacker velocity, demands, rapid response, and comprehensive visibility. Again, AI is a problem, AI is a solution, proactive AI security and human. And then defense in depth is still needed, but at a faster pace, at a more effective pace. So the security approach is still the same. So here's an example of zero trust. You've got identity, you got workload, you got location, service, instance, activity, behavior, and data, and then the final action to take. So if it's a human user, human entity, the human entity is working from home on a managed device, goes on Gemini, uses a personal instance, uploads something, you quickly catch that that's a risky behavior. Because it's a managed device, you have some control over it. And so because the data is company confidential, you block and coach the user. When it comes to agentic models, non-human entities, you give some workload, it knows how to do fast, quick. We're talking about model context protocol, client that's hosted in North Korea, connects to the server, it's a non-enterprise instance, uploads something, risky behavior, company data confidential, block action. So this should be your policy when it comes to implementing AI. So if you have not implemented the policy to take this kind of an action, you are at risk.
If I could say something about
that
last slide. I think the success of the agentic model, though, is identifying the data and the value of the data and marking the data and having a DLP system in place to go through any single piece of data in your enterprise and marking it at, you can even do it at the field level to say that this is not something that could be involved in AI in any single way. And the way these DSPM tools work is you tag your data that you don't want involved anything with any kind of model, any kind of AI. And if a user tries to upload or interact with that data and interact with a model with that data, then this protocol goes into place right here. But this is largely worthless if you don't know what the data is.
True.
So it's
Yeah. So here's just a quick sort of framework or an approach to managing AI risk. You got to know your AI landscape. If you don't know who is using it, how they're using it, and what are they using it for, so if you don't have a good inventory, it doesn't matter, you are at risk. So that's the basic. And then, we talked about the poll initially, allow approved apps, block the unapproved, use DLP, go to users. That's the second. And then, probably you're familiar with it. OWASP has a LLM top 10, and NIST has a framework. MITRE has a framework, and then ISO has 42001. So you can use all of them to deploy your sort of AI compliance, security compliance. And if you haven't done it, please take a look. And then finally, this is the most critical. Again, I go do assess companies, right? Oh, it's assessment time. You got 2 months, 3 months. And then they get the certification, they forget all about it. Again, repeat and rinse. Things change every minute, every day. And if you do not have systems that continuously monitor and tell you what's going on, you're at risk.
What I don't see in there is deploying LLMs that are not accessible to the cloud. So there would be a local LLM so that people can't, so that can't talk to the internet and give up your secret sauce.
Good point. Good point. All right, the next one. So finally, again, I mentioned NIST and ISO, and ISACA has an AI audit toolkit. ISACA has certifications, OWASP, and so on. So you got number of resources here to learn about how best to implement AI and AI security in your organizations. So the frameworks are there. You just have to implement them. You just have to work on them. All right. Have to answer any questions?
I do have one here online, from online. What would be best practices for locking down an IDE like VS Code that has plugins for both ClineBot and Cursor? While these can be connected to local inference servers, they still have risk.
I'm going to delegate it to
Yeah, that goes to Chad.
You can set that by policy.
What's that?
You could set that by policy. I mean, you can just include, don't allow or whitelist plugins to VS Code or Cursor. Just don't allow anything else, because it's a huge danger, because you never know what you're going to get in the plugin extensions. Okay. I think that answers the question, but.
Well, Robert, if it doesn't, let us know.
Yep, the word is policy.
Don't. What would be best practices for locking down an IDE like VS Code that has plugins for both ClineBot and Cursor? While these can be connected to local inference servers, they still have risk.
Okay, I mean, can I go to one from my experience?
Sure, man. You got the mic. It's this is
still. Okay. When it comes to the plugins is kind of treated as a component. So here the one word answer is software component analysis or system component and SCA. So that's the key. And a lot of people actually misses this. They just do all this static scanning and dynamic testing and all those things, and even the pen testing. But what they fail to do, what I have seen generally, is this analysis, component analysis. What components or what those links gets into your system or the software or the services. That's where the key is, and then from there, everything else is kind of pivots upon. So it's the one word answer is the SEA.
Great point.
No,
Yeah.
right on. Thank you.
Yeah, another word I want to say is bill of materials. I don't know how many software development companies have a good bill of materials. I saw a software that basically tells everything the company has in terms of software assets, servers, components, containers, and so on. And then all the users who use AI, all the users who use AI and how, and whether that particular code is touching sensitive data or not. So there's some good monitoring tools out there.
So you opened your talk by saying that AI is a problem and also part of the solution. To what capacity you think AI is part of the solution? Because so far, or the way I perceived it, you presented very little in to what capacity AI is a solution.
Thank you. Yeah, so I wanted to kind of manage my slide deck to the time, but great question. So, AI is a solution because you can build security tools using AI. That's number one. You can build all kinds of controls using AI. You can set policies using AI. So go ahead.
But is that not conflicting?
I don't see a mic. Yeah.
But is that not conflicting with the zero trust assumption you made earlier? Assume all the code has been written by AI and assume it to be malicious. Would that not extend to the policies and tools and so on you would have generated with AI?
It does. So zero trust has to go all the way, even more stricter. So it's like dog watching the dog watching the dog, right? So that's how I put it. So you got to have zero trust agents working at all levels. And you having a good policy on those agents, you monitoring those agents, monitoring for changes to those agents. So it's continuous. So that's how the AI becomes a solution. It's got business solution, you got security solution.
Are you seeing a lot of your clients bringing their LLMs from the cloud back to on-prem due to security concerns? And if so, like what percentage?
I haven't come across.
No, haven't come across.
I mean, not that I understand so much about it, but my understanding is it's super expensive to run. I mean, that's why these companies exist, these open AIs and Googles and the world who have the capacity to run those models on their big ass machines for you to a fraction of the cost that, well, it would cost you to do that yourself. So I mean, I think it's simply infeasible to do your own. And if it would, then you would still need to have all the content and so on. You would need to scrape it off the internet to feed your model and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Who, me? Oh, I'd say there's probably a lot of confusion around why and how people are using models. And I think that the biggest thing I hear is people understanding a model as if every model you're using in AI is like you speaking in open format to ChatGPT, which is simply not the case at all. When you're building a product internal to a company, you can download every model off of Azure or Bedrock and bring it locally, and it doesn't take a lot of power to run. What it takes a lot of power to run is to operate the LLM and constantly train. But if you want to use, when you're building out a product in AI, you're usually using a very small model for a very specific reason. You're not just going out and saying, hey, ChatGPT, tell me everything you know about the universe. You're saying, extract the data off this card in an intelligent way, bring the values, transform the values, enrich the values, do embeddings, and bring that into a database. And these products are built around these very simple usages of AI. So it's a very different scenario. So you can't really conflate the two, but it's almost like the mentality shift, which will be the next step of understanding how AI works, is everybody has to get off the same page of thinking that all AI is me going to Gemini asking an open-ended question, and it just goes out to the world of the universe, and that model can be poisoned by the Russians or whatever. That's really not how you're using it to build a product. And that's the products that are based around AI are not really used in that way either. So, I mean, there's some truth. Like you can't, I mean, the point is if you're using an LLM in a very open way, you can't download that because it's constantly learning and training. So you can't air gap that in some way to your company, but that's also really not the way most people are using it. I mean, unless you're just sitting around in your business saying, I don't know how to solve this problem. Hey, chat, give me this issue or whatever. I mean, but so I think it's just a question of collectively, everybody is going to learn to understand how this is used and not used. And I think a lot of the fear and the safety will go away, as is a lot of the safety concerns you have brought up. They're already addressed, and there's already technology out there to deal with the vast majority of situations. I mean, the one I always hear is, to your point, was if I have a corporate chat GPT that's blocks any kind of data from going into it versus the personal version of it, well, simply just don't allow that. I mean, there's a policy in place, just don't allow access to ChatGPT. And you put a policy in place, if somebody's caught using it on their phone, they're fired. I mean, so, and that's pretty much the same experience or policy that has driven security around since phones have been around. You can't use your cell phone to take picture of PII, I mean, or you'll be fired. So anyways, that's my two bits on it. But
yeah, just want to add a quick point on that. The AI, it's kind of escapes in certain ways. For example, you can, in a prompt injection, you can introduce French with the English, right? So yeah, some of those things do escape the current policies. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like prompt security products out there that filter anything you put into ChatGPT. It's going to look at it before you even hit go, and it's going to say, don't use French, don't use mixed languages, don't ask an engine to turn off or to ignore its instructions. There's an entire suite of products out there that prevent that right now. We just need to start using them. Right.
But if we disallow AI completely, because it would be better if you just go to your neighbor and ask something than get on a computer and ask something, because it takes away from the human experience if you're using AI. And it's it's also making us dumber essentially, because we're not critically thinking anymore.
Too late.
And then but then you could
yeah.
Then you could air gap all the emails incoming. So then it's manual review or just drop all of them. So it takes away the risk of phishing.
Yeah. Well, according to the research, in 4 years, probably less than 4 years, 15% of all organizations will use agents. With that, I'm going to conclude my talk today.
Wow. Actually, if you have another minute, we do have a couple questions from online. Yeah, save that applause. Let me just scroll up here, because these were good. I do want to. The first one is, in your opinion, what is the main and best recommendation for immediate actions for CISOs?
Lead the initiative. Start talking to this leadership. One of the things these days happening in every company is it's not the bottom up. It's the top leadership that's pushing the organizations to adopt AI today, because they care about productivity, they care about money, they care about revenues, they care about competence. So unlike other technologies, AI is being pushed top down. So it's kind of easy that way for CISOs to talk to the leadership saying, let's do it properly. let's implement the framework. Let's talk about inventory. Let's talk about, what we have, how to use it, what's the purpose, who should use it, so the conversation has to start from there.
Excellent. What's your take on running Olama with models like Mistral 7B? This allows you to create company-focused data sets that are never shared online.
I am not familiar with it.
You and me both. Sorry. Okay. Chad, do you have any thoughts on that one?
So what I would say is that it's like buying a car. You buy yourself, a little, 4-cylinder car that goes max of 8 miles an hour. You go back to Ferrari. All these miles are created differently. So you can pull some of them locally, I don't know, but ultimately not. Additionally, you're using HITRUST broad. When you're using those surfaces, you're not just getting you're gonna have to put large amount of software on top of it. So your experience will differ greatly from your house, and the amount of that the same amount of value, it's a decent amount, and it's something that most companies don't realize and into.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Oops. Recently, in commercial and financial transactions, there is a perception at executive levels that operations and transactions are no longer distinguishable between human users and AI users and are therefore risky. Does this mean new security frameworks monitored by AI are needed to ensure risk minimization? No more people for these substantive activities?
Good question. So I wouldn't say we need a new framework. It's just we need to adapt the framework to the AI.
Cool. That is everything that we have from online. Oh, please. Sorry.
All right. So with the, advent of AI, there is more focus on what data is going to go into AI. And then there is a renewed interest in DLP. In my company, I'm responsible to set up a DLP. And I'm thinking, is there a framework out there how to set up your DLP for detecting the sensitive data? You talk about cloud, you talk about email, how do you go about doing that? Is there use case basis? Is there a set of guidelines out there that will, you do these 5 things in the DLP and you'll be safe? Any suggestion? I know there's a collective, audience here, and I thought I'll ask.
Yeah. Good. Take the mic. Mike.
Depends what DLP system you're using, but all the brand new one, I mean, Purview certainly has all that built into out of the box. So just go into the templates and say, I want to scan for AI information or PII information and tell what your data sources are, and it'll just go wild.
Yeah. So you mentioned data sources and you mentioned scanning. So it's about, again, policy. So perform a risk assessment, right? Risk assessment is a key tool many organizations don't do. Risk assessment involves identifying where is our data, what's our data, who's using it, where is it stored, where is it processed, where is it transmitted, where is it shared, what's our supply chain, right? So it goes through everything to identify, your data flow. You got to understand the inventory and the flow. And then DLP is just a tool. A tool is a tool. So you got to know what you have, and then you got to know your policies, and then adapt the tool to the policy.
So stick to the basics. That's the thing for security. And whatever the technology or application so on and so
Yeah, he makes a great point. The dynamic nature of the data, reconstruction. You just need a little bit, just a little seed to grow the tree.
And some of the feedback from online was sensitivity labeling, data classification is the key. Can you, can you enable that?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So my question to you as we evolve through this AI revolution, you have senior leadership in companies that, I'll give an example, all in for AI because that is what the company needs. They want to grow the company, but without necessarily the maturity that follows. So you have senior leadership that's saying, yeah, we've got this, we're into AI, but yet you have a company structure and maturity that isn't quite there. How would you approach dealing with that? I understand you need policies, guidance, guardrails, all of those things. But what I see is just the thought that we are not going to be left behind. So therefore, we will, regardless of the consequences. So what would be your recommendation?
Great question. The basic, again, we'll use the word basics. The basics haven't changed. Stick to the basics, right? So just like any other technology, why do we need this? What is it? What's the benefit? What's the cost benefit? What's the ROI? What's the safety behind it? So these are all basic questions. These are basic business questions.
Gotta have policies. Gotta have policies.
Yeah.
key problems with security. All these departments, they just bring in all the cool features, the functionality, processes and everything. All AI assisted, agent feature, implemented and all those things, but nobody takes the ownership for it. Who's going to do that? And we take that ownership is the number one. I mean, that's the key rule. And my client, my CEO, whenever somebody thinks a tool, AI tool to deal with some part of the business, is that we going to manage. So you are the IT, because they most of the time they looking up towards IT, and that's the problem. It is external.
I just note that your mic was muted.
Okay. So yeah, I think the thing is, ownership. Ownership is the number one key criteria for the success of the security, IT security in this AI-enabled digital age.
Without a doubt, yeah, accountability, ownership. So to say.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that I think AI in general is so confusing to people that handle risk for a company that, and it's so confusing to a board and so confusing to upper management that really what it comes down to right now, it's just IT needs to just block it until people understand it. I mean, and my clients, I've come in and I think I've had 3 clients where that was the exact scenario. They want to push out this, but they've come to me because it's a cluster. They've had so many different incidents, PII leaks, people using multiple versions of these things, using DeepSeek, and it's going to take a while for people to just as the comment I made earlier, to understand how to develop and how to use these technologies, what they're good for, what they're bad for, and because right now everybody just thinks it's just one big chat GPT out there, and that's it. And it's so confusing that your only stopgap measure is technology, which may be more likely to understand it, or at least they have got the control key to turn it off. That's your first line of defense, because it's going to take years for an executive or an elderly risk manager to understand this paradigm shift, because it's so different. And you talk to people in risk and they act like it's just like, oh, it's like physical security or a firewall rule or whatever. And it's not. So it just creates this inherent danger of people not understanding it. So unfortunately, it's the IT folks, in my opinion, need to throttle that, turn it off or on.
Yeah, but you need to be aware of the friction also it generates. Yeah, it's a friction which is kind of impeding the businesses more than, I mean, again, that's debatable anyway.
Do we have any other questions? We've gone over time a little bit, but it's been fantastic.
Thank you, everybody.